Keeping your brother's life insurance while his family loses their house.
If you truly love me, you will cut off your dick!
The battle between allergy and accessibility. A collection of calamities of people not pronouncing the language properly. One person's snowball event turning into a literal avalanche. And the post that starts a weird rant about human fertility in the comments. Hello, my snacks. Welcome back. My name's Jack. A lot of stories to read today, so let's begin. Starting in Am I the A-hole? With one that, seriously, how could you not be? Am I the a-hole for keeping my brother's life insurance? Are you ready for the terrible justification? I, a 40-year-old male, lost my brother, 42 male, Jay, in a car accident a few months ago. Growing up, he was the golden child. He got a full ride to a prestigious college while I had to pay my own way and eventually drop out. He went on to grad school, but I got married and settled down with my wife, Brittany, early on. We have had financial struggles, which caused us not to be able to start a family. We lived paycheck to paycheck in a one-bedroom apartment. Jay always made good money, but wasn't lucky in love. He was very picky, and while he had some longer 1 to 2 year relationships, he was looking for perfection before getting married. He finally married his wife, 40-year-old female Mary, in 2019. She also made good money, like Jay. She also had 2 children from a previous relationship, now 18 and 19. One is in college, and the other will be starting next year. She and Jay also had twin girls about a year ago. Mary and Jay both worked and have a nanny they share with a neighbor for the girls. When they got pregnant, she sold her house where they were living, and he sold his condo that he had been renting out, and they bought a larger family home together. All this to say, money is not a problem for them. Gee guys, I don't know if you can tell, but I think the OP is pretty wound up about how much money Jay has. Now, like I said, Jay passed away recently in a car accident, and Mary found out that I was the beneficiary of his 401k and life insurance policy through his employer. The life insurance is $150k, but the 401k is much more substantial. He set it up that way many years ago before Mary was in the picture and never changed it. Mary begged me to give her a portion of the money, but I said no. She inherited his part of their house and their joint savings account, which is about $50k. She said that she paid for his funeral, and to make it work on her income alone, she will have to sell the house, give up the nanny, put the girls in daycare, and won't be able to help her older kids with college the way they planned. So obviously if Jay's family is struggling, then OP should give the money to Jay's family, right? I told her it's not my fault. If he wanted to change the beneficiary, he should have done that. But he didn't. So now the money is mine. My wife and I plan to use the money to buy a home and finally start a family. She says her husband's money should go to his children, but she doesn't see that me using the money to have my own children is more important. What? Oh, the logical hoops this man is jumping through. Our parents think I'm an a-hole because the money should go to his kids. I offered to take $50k and put it in a trust for the girls' education, but they said Mary needs the money now. They said the life insurance would pay off their mortgage and the boys' college and put money away for the girls' future, and her income would cover the rest so they wouldn't have to move. But what about my family? Top comments are going to be too obvious. Let's find some controversial comments. Not the a-hole. He had plenty of time to change the beneficiary name on his policy. Okay, damn, there's actually quite a lot of people that aren't a tar though. Maybe this isn't so much of an unpopular opinion. Some people say things like, everyone on here is basing their decision on the assumption that his brother forgot to update it when we don't know that for sure. We also don't know if there were marital issues and that's why he never changed it. Or that he believed it was possible his wife would move on quickly and not have their children's best interest at heart in favor of a new partner and new family. I mean, true, but okay, that's, you're equally just assuming something then as well. At most you could do is say, no a-holes here, but you're saying Natar to imply that the wife is definitely guilty of possibly doing these things. But to summarize what they're saying is basically, give what you believe is best to the children, set up that tuition and all that such, but you don't need to actually give everything to the wife here. Again, not wanting to assume either way, but then immediately assuming that the wife is some evil woman. Because that's what all women do who are earning a very comfortable amount of money themselves. Try and get money from the men they are currently on equal footing with. On the Yatar side, yeah, your life sucks, but there is no world in which your brother would not have wanted to take care of his wife and their children. You're exploiting a lapse of attention on his part to profit from his death. That's just gross as hell. Yeah, and this advice is coming from a monkey. God damn. In all seriousness, I can kind of agree with this because my girlfriend is 2 years younger than me and she's already planned and prepared her own will. I haven't done any of that. Not to be sexist towards myself, but I'm not surprised the man here wasn't really up to date on his documentation. Further, Yatar's accusing him of basically stealing this money for his own benefit, robbing these children of a sustainable sustainable, financially comfortable future just so that he can instead.
No, but what about his non-existent family? Don't his children that have yet to be born,
Unlike his brother's twins,
matter too?
that's sarcasm if not obvious.
It's really weird how OP keeps talking about the family he could create when his actual family is about to start suffering due to his brother's death.
To be honest, I also find it highly unlikely that it will be as easy as he mentions to start a family at 40. So essentially, the Yatar side of things believes you're stealing money from people who genuinely need it, versus the Natars saying, hey, that's what the documentations were stating as, he's the beneficiary, he gets to use the money how he pleases. That's just how it works, folks. So what do you think then? I guess this is a moral versus legal issue. Let me know what you think. For now, we'll move on to r/s***, to a relationship where someone thinks surgically altering your body is the ultimate gesture of love. Boyfriend wants us both to get a symbolic vasectomy. Help. So, to start this off, my boyfriend and I are both 18-year-old males, and we are a gay couple. We have been together for ages, since the 8th grade, and love each other very much. One big debate we have over and over again is about my sexuality. I identify as bi, literally just because I like both men and women. He says that he doesn't believe in this and that he thinks I am gay. As a side note, he identifies as gay. Now, just to point this out because I know people are going to be questioning it, the reason these words are censored is purely because in the past YouTube has demonetized some of my videos because I talk about these kind of topics. So just to keep it safe, I've put them in my profanity filter. YouTube's probably fixed it by now, but honestly, I just don't have the time to trust it and risk having to upload and edit a whole new video just because they don't like me saying gay. So moving on, we talked about our life plans recently and decided we wanted to stay together for the long term. He suggested that to commit to one another and our gay lifestyle, we should both get vasectomies. I was so freaking shocked. Like, his logic is that since we're gay, we'll likely adopt children, and so we'll never need to be able to produce sperm anyway. I think this is ridiculous. Like, what if we want to use our sperm and an egg donor? What if he dies in a car crash and I end up with a woman and want children? I am refusing, and he's threatening to break up with me over this. I know it sounds insane, but sometimes he gets ideas in his head and just never lets them go. I don't feel like I need a medical procedure to commit to being with him for the rest of my life. I also posted this in r/advice just for a broader perspective. I mean, is this meant to be an endearing trait about them? Getting ideas in their head and never letting them go. That doesn't sound like any state of maturity. Of course, I shouldn't expect much when they're both just 18, so it's kind of unfair to judge them like that. So obviously, if it's not pointed out clearly enough, to threaten to break up with you just because you refuse to get surgery for them, yeah, of course, that is a red flag. Not only that, it is very expensive, unnecessary surgery. Like, dude, I'm sorry. You can't be this insecure. On a side note, it is nice to see that even gay men are as insecure as straight men. Because we're the same, but different. Yeah! Now, some of us are frustrated that everyone just assumes you must break up the moment you have a disagreement on something, which, okay, is fair to believe. This person is aware that clearly your boyfriend is insecure about something and you just need to be there to reassure them, which is all well and good to do, have that positive mindset about it, but this person literally dismisses the existence of bisexuality. Like, how can you do that? In a world that hardly accepts you for being gay, you as a gay person can be like, no, see, I don't believe in that sexuality though. It's as absurd as being like a black Nazi, which actually, no, that's possible. Yep, that exists. God damn it, Kanye. Back over to Emma the A-hole for a title of a story that you'll be surprised. At first glance, you'd think they're the a-hole, but... Am I the a-hole for not letting my nephew bring his service dog to my wedding? I'm a 27 female, and I'm getting married in a few months to my fiancé, 28 male. We have been planning our dream wedding for over a year, and everything is finally falling into place. However, there is one issue that has been causing quite a bit of controversy at our family. My nephew, 18 male, James, has a service dog, Max, for his anxiety and panic attacks. Max is a well-trained and well-behaved dog, and he has been a great help to James over the years. However, I am severely allergic to dogs, to the point where I could have a severe reaction if I am around them for an extended period of time. This is something my family is well aware of. When we sent out the invitations for our wedding, we made it clear that there would be a strict no pets policy due to my allergies. James and his parents approached us and asked if Max could be an exception, as he is a service dog and not just a pet. They assured us that Max would be on his best behavior and that he would not cause any problems. Because as we all know, Max is totally capable as a dog to be communicated to be on their best behavior ever. Dogs know English after all, they know human conversation.
As much as I understand the importance of Max to James, I had to say no. My wedding day is supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life, and I do not want to risk having a severe allergic reaction during the ceremony or reception. I explained this to James and his parents, and I offered to help find alternative accommodations for Max during the wedding. However, my decision has caused a lot of controversy in the family. Some of my relatives believe that I am being selfish and inconsiderate, while others understand my point of view and support my decision. James is understandably upset, and I feel terrible about the situation. So, am I the a-hole for not allowing my nephew to bring his service dog to my wedding? Even sorting by controversial, there's literally no one who is on the dog person's side. The dog is an emotional support animal, not a service dog. Where is the support for your right to be able to attend your own wedding without severe allergic reactions? The wedding can take place without your nephew. It cannot take place without you. Which is echoed in the top comment. Sorry, nephew, but in a showdown between your attendants and the bride being able to breathe at her own wedding, the bride wins, not the a-hole. And I don't know, man, like, how exactly can you argue that the wife here, or fiance, is being an a-hole? Like, as this comment says, oh, so you were asking me, the bride, to miss my own wedding? Any answer the family gives, you can say, oh, you were saying that I'm not important, that a guest is more important than me on my wedding day. Over and over. Just say that over and over. I know that can sound rather childish of an argument just by saying la 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 with your hands in your ears, but it's such a concrete argument. I'm sorry, I'm prioritizing my health and safety. Today, I screwed up by accidentally calling my employee a not safe for work name for 3 years. So, let me set the stage. I'm an Australian who managed to score a sweet gig working at a resort on a tropical island in Thailand. I had 50 awesome staff members working under me, and wanting to make a great impression, I took the time to learn everyone's names, both their formal names and their nicknames. Now, here's where the colossal screw-up comes in. One of my staff members had the nickname Moai, which I was told meant China girl. Eager to be friendly and relatable, I called her by her nickname for 3 whole years. Little did I know, I was actually calling her pubic hair due to the nuances of the Thai tonal language. For 3 long years, I unknowingly called this poor woman an not safe for work name, and nobody corrected me. Finally, one staff member let the truth slip, and I was absolutely mortified. I had been walking around, blissfully unaware of the embarrassment I had been causing both myself and Moai. To say I was devastated is an understatement. I screwed up big time by not fully understanding the tonal intricacies of the Thai language and accidentally calling my employee a wildly inappropriate name for 3 years. Learn from my mistake, folks. When in doubt, stick to formal names. It's just a short story and hilarious nonetheless, but what is most interesting too is all the comments sharing this same shameful of mistakes while being too confident with the language they're not too familiar in. I work with a lot of Mexicans, and the words for load and schmidt are very similar. I was telling the guys to go schmidt in the truck instead of go load the truck for 5 years, until a new guy came and pulled me aside and explained how I was pronouncing it wrong. I turned to the rest of the crew, "Why didn't you guys tell me?" to a chorus of laughter from them. Well, we always knew what you meant. I wanted to die. And considering how closely these two words are, yes, it's not a surprise that they mistake this, yeah. Though that is nothing on this story. In high school, a long time ago, my friend's very Greek mom had a very Greek accent. It was a group of us tech nerd guys hanging at his house for an afternoon. There were 4 of us, and she greeted us very warmly as we came in. One guy in our group was black. Just as we were going into my friend's room to nerd out in the BBS days, she calls after us, "Later, you go to black bastards!" My friend's eyes went big as saucers. "Mom!" And we went into his room. A couple of hours later, we started getting ready to leave to go shoot some hoops. Again, his mom said, "Go to black bastards for me, okay?" I whispered to my friend, "Dude, what is up with your mom?" Then she repeated again, loudly, "Theo, you go to black bastards for your mother!" Then she pushed a video cassette into his hand from Blockbuster. After that, we always call it Blockbustards. So obviously, yeah, there's a lot of stories like this, people mistaking some words such as koi to mean fish, but they were actually meant to be pronouncing goy. So instead, every time they've talked about fish there, they've been talking about something else. So that's funny. Anyway, moving on to the next stories. Now, over to True Off My Chest with a story that is a bit all over the place between the comments and other posts, so we'll try and navigate through it the best we can. This person began posting about 14 days ago with this dilemma. "I'm keeping a secret from my dad, and I feel like a horrible daughter. I'm a 19-year-old female, currently living with my dad, 56 male, stepmom, 45 female, and baby sister, 8-year-old female. I'm going to give context to the title, just bear with me. My stepmom, we'll call her Abby, decided to leave my dad a couple of weeks ago. He convinced her to give him a second chance, and he really has been trying, but she just looks absolutely miserable. He knows their relationship is coming to an end, but refuses to let it go. Abby and sister are currently living with her mum, who is very sick, to take care of her so she's not in the house often. It's been just me and dad. But when dad is at work and I watch sister after school, when Abby comes to get the sister, she vents to me. She confided recently that she's repulsed by my dad. Kissing him makes her feel sick. Being touched by him makes her feel sick, etc. She verbally rips my dad apart in front of me, and it hurts. I won't lie. I love my dad. He thinks he's doing good and that he'll win her back, but it's the exact opposite at this point. It just keeps getting worse because he won't let go. How am I supposed to tell him that she's grossed out at the thought of being around him? It doesn't help that she just made them get a new house 2 years ago, and she plans to try and make him move into the garage. She also forced him to get her pregnant or she would leave him. Sister is here now. Yay. Even though he told her he wanted no more kids. He has 6. 7 now, including sister. And she doesn't let him have a say in raising her. Sister is a horrid, spoiled brat that throws Chernobyl-level meltdowns. I think she might be autistic, but that's another story. I feel horrible. I don't know what the heck to do or how to tell him what she told me. Now, the story didn't actually get much traction. At most, it was just these 2 comments, mainly encouraging you to support your father the best you can through all of this. But, as we find out in a later post from 2 days ago, it seems someone else was far more willing to give some ulterior love and attention to Daddy Dearest. It was a good day. We went to the gym, had a good time. I live with my dad. We went back to mine after the gym and she decided she wanted to drink. I wanted to stay sober. She could drink. Fine. Whatever. What the bitch shouldn't have done was screw with my dad in goddamn earshot. I'm seeing red. How dare she? How dare they? I see where the hell I stand, and it's not where I thought I was. That's right, in the span of 2 weeks, Opie goes from pitying her dad to absolutely hating him. Because it seems their best friend had the hots for her dad, and yep, certainly not the kind of audio you want to be listening to. And no, yuck. No, thank you. But oh no, the drama of this person's life does not end there. There is some more info in the comments that just, it makes this even worse. So you probably noticed the fact that there was no mention about you ever giving your best friend a boundary in the first place. And someone does ask this. They ask how a conversation already occurred where you told her she couldn't sleep with your dad. That just seems like common sense. I'm confused. And the response from OP that makes this friend sound like the town bicycle, she slept with my brother. I mean, that's fine. That's my brother. I don't freaking care. But she brought up how she found my dad attractive and wanted to sleep with him out of the blue, and I asked her not to sleep with my dad, especially after she went after my brother. So yeah, wow, okay. I know I can say it as an exaggeration of things, but this is absolutely just a nuking of a family dynamic. An important point from some other comments. I'm going to be mildly charitable and assume that you live in a country where the drinking age is below 21, so your 56-year-old father didn't sleep with an illegally tipsy 19-year-old, assuming she's around your age at least, but it's still pretty gross regardless. In your other post, you seem very critical of your former stepmom for not treating your dad right, but he doesn't exactly seem like a prize if he's sleeping with a 19-year-old daughter's bestie. Yeah, I will say that my opinion of my dad has dropped a few pegs. I never thought he would do something like this to me, but I guess you never truly know someone. I thought I did. Yeah, so that's the thing. In the original post, we were all feeling a bit of pity for that father. But after this whole event, yeah, it doesn't seem like the dad is a good person to begin with. And as people point this out, OP does reply with some more truth bombs and revelations. I honestly don't think my stepmom was planning on staying with him anyways. She's already on dating sites. I think he sees it as a way of getting revenge on her and me for keeping it a secret. In regards to the stepmom planning to leave anyway. Well, I never intended to keep it a secret. I was giving stepmom a chance to come clean. I gave her a timeline and an ultimatum to tell him or I would. I guess I confided in the wrong person. I've loved the wrong people. My heart honestly just hurts at this point. I've held the utmost respect for my dad who sacrificed a lot for my siblings and I. I saw him through rose-tinted glasses and this is the last thing I would have expected from him. It was literally a blindside. So what's next for OP? Well, as some people suggest, you should just move out at this point. Stop sticking around for your father in this family. She's currently trying to. She has a fiance. Yes, at 19. Well, somewhere in her early 20s. Apparently her age just changes a lot because she wants to be anonymous. But either way, just add that to the mountain pile of baggage she's currently got to deal with. But apparently now that the father sees her as the enemy in this sort of family, she genuinely doesn't feel safe around him. So they're resorting to heist mode. By the moment he's at work, she's gonna race on by with her fiance and mother to try and grab her things and get out of there. Now, of course, with this absolute list of terrible things to be going through in your life at a young age, some people do think this could possibly be a fabricated story, but I personally would argue against that as it does seem that the OP is being rather active about this all and informative more than you'd expect someone to be. So yeah, overall, I hope things turn out better for this person. Definitely hide your grandparents and maybe hide your dog. Let's end things with another Am I the A-hole? Am I the a-hole for basically telling my brother that I don't blame his girlfriend for leaving him? I'm 32 female, my brother, 34, had been dating a 32-year-old Jane for like 10 or 11 years. In the beginning, the whole family absolutely adored her. But over time, maybe 3 years ago, Jane became kind of bitchy and distant, and none of us understood why. She wouldn't answer us when we asked, so we, admittedly, kind of just avoided her, honestly. She blocked everyone off everything, stopped going to family events, etc. I know I personally started really hating her for personal reasons, as the only person she ever acknowledged was my husband, and she was flirty, and it didn't set well with me. And as we find out, she was right to be suspicious. However, my brother shows up here, completely tanked last night, saying Jane left him. During his visit, he started opening up on the why aspect and informed me that when Jane was like 23, 9 years ago, she expressed wanting to get married and wanted to have babies and whatnot, something none of us knew. We thought they were child-free by choice, as that's what my brother told all of us. But he said to me that he told her if she loved him, she would wait until he got his stuff together. So she apparently waited around for years, just waiting on him, before he finally told her last week that he didn't want kids or to get married, and that he was comfortable with the life he has currently. So she left. He expressed that around the time that she started acting really rude to the rest of the family was because during that time I was pregnant and she couldn't stand being around me. He also very bluntly said that she wanted your husband and talked about him all the time because she knew he wanted kids and I was holding out. And he had apparently been the reason she blocked us all because of her comments about my husband. But looking back now, it makes a lot of sense. Anyways, at the end of the conversation, I said that I can understand why she left. I told him I understand him as well and his reasoning behind not wanting kids or marriage, but if it was that important to her, I can totally see why she left, especially where he made the promise of, when I get my stuff together, just to tell her years later that he basically lied and never wanted kids or marriage. So she probably feels like he wasted her time. I made a point to tell him I understood both sides, but he chalked this up to me agreeing with Jane and said that,
"Oh, women shouldn't always stick together, you know. I'm your freaking family, and Jane left the love we had behind over potential kids and a piece of paper."
That wasn't what I was trying to say, but regardless, my husband did tell me later on that I should have just not said what I said, regardless of how true it was. Am I the a-hole? Top supporters to Natar. Clearly, she wanted something, he didn't, so they weren't compatible. Obviously, she's going to leave, which did make others bring up the confusion over to this, as some believe that, hey, 32, you got plenty of time to meet someone, but others think that she's on a tight timeline. And this cascades into an interesting little political dispute, I guess, regarding the fertility of women. Something I'm sure many people avoid talking about because they feel like it's too much of a taboo topic, which, look, yes, over time you're going to have less of a high quality body to produce children. It's called age. It happens. I mean, this is a great comment here. Not to mention that the older you are when you have kids, the more difficult it is to keep up with them. Like it or not, having kids in your 20s is a different experience than having them in your 40s. But then we get into the idea of birth defects as if this is all women's fault for not having children in their 20s. And yeah, okay, Down syndrome goes way up. Well, someone gives a ballpark figure of it going up by 0.5% to 1%. Oh no, an extra 0.5%? To which someone applies a bit of actual research on the internet, feeling confident that they've done it. They've proven that it's women's fault if they don't have children early because they create a higher risk of children having syndromes. But beautifully enough, someone here actually decides to, okay, bet. Let's do a statistical representation of what you've just shared. When you're 25, you have a 0.08 chance of developing Down syndrome children, but when you're at 45, you have a 3.3% chance. Like, oh no, less than 3% increase? And most importantly, let's not forget recent science has proven that sperm also degrades and gives more chance of different outcomes. Shh, we're blaming women here. Of course, that's it. Just a huge tangent from the original post of this story. So either way, your thoughts here. Do you think she was right to leave and leave in a bit of a huff over it all? Or do you think that if she was willing to stick around, that's also kind of on her to make him think he had some sort of sense of security with her and trust in a relationship that was going to last? Let me know in your thoughts down below. Anyway, we'll end things there. This is probably going to be a long video because I'm currently at 40 minutes in the raw recording. Thank you as always for watching. Love your face, drink some water, yada yada yada, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.